Yeah, am I audible to all? Yeah, okay. Am I audible to all? Okay, okay. So, very good evening to all, and welcome to BCA program from Shoolini University through ODL mode. So, this is Dr. Ravinder, PhD in mathematics, okay, with specialization fuzzy set, fuzzy logic, and their applications in the multi-criteria decision making. So, I strongly believe that mathematics is not only to solve the problems, but learning of the mathematics definitely develops your confidence, your creativity, decision making capabilities, okay, and encourage to the students to think independently. So the practice of the mathematics and the learning of the mathematics is very important to all of you. So please be regular for the classes. Okay, I will make the mathematics very simple to all of you so that you can understand. Okay, so for that you have to be regular for the classes. Okay, we will conduct the lecture in both the modes, Hindi and the English. Okay, so generally we will conduct the lecture in English mode. Okay, but if you're not able to understand, then I will also explain in the Hindi also. Okay, so don't to be hesitate to ask any questions. Okay, whenever you are not able to understand. Okay, so today we will start from the very interesting topic, that is the introduction of the matrices. Okay, so first of all, let me know how many of you have the mathematics background. How many of you? Okay, 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 okay. No, okay. So no issue at all. We will start from the very basics. Okay, and I think all of you are familiar with the divisions, addition, and the multiplications. Okay, so if you know these operations, okay, and in generally in the mathematics only we have these operations, addition, multiplication, and the subtractions. Okay, and after that we have to be define the logics. ओके तो जब भी आप किसी प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व करेंगे एवरी टाइम you must have the knowledge of the addition, subtraction, and the multiplications. Okay, but here we are going to be discuss the matrices. Okay, so in a mathematics I just want to say one thing for you, that in mathematics is not tough if you are able to understand the logic. Okay, so in all the topics of your course you have to be try to understand the logics. Okay, when you are able to understand the logic, then you can apply the logic to any problems. Okay, so uh, in all the topics, when you are have a understanding of each topics, okay, then go for the practices. Okay, so there is not a specific book for the practice for your course. Okay, but where you will get the concepts, whether in the engineering mathematics NCRT books. Okay, you can you can take the problems and try to solve these problems. Okay, so first of all, try to understand the concept, okay, and the logic. Okay, so for that, be regular for the class. Okay, so what is the matrices? First of all, today our topic is the introduction of the matrices. Okay, so mathematics is a fundamental to the natural sciences, and matrices have a lot of applications in the computer applications. Okay, so processing, computer graphics, encryptions and decryptions of the codes, okay, and data analysis. So computer image processing, animations productions, okay, text mining and its inverted index technologies, okay. So there are so many applications of the matrices, okay, but generally the matrices are significantly used in the image processing as well as the data analysis, okay. So for that, definition of the matrices. So definition of the matrices, how will we understand the definition of the matrices, okay. Generally, whenever the data is arranged in the form of the row and the columns, okay, row and the columns, okay, then we can say that this is the matrices, okay. So generally whenever you are in the class, जब आप क्लास में बैठते हैं, ठीक है, तो आपका एक वहां पे रो एंड कॉलम का अरेंजमेंट जनरेट होगा. इज दैट क्लियर? सो हाउ कुड यू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये आपका रो है और ये आपका कॉलम है? इज दैट क्लियर? सो आई थिंक यू आर क्वाइट फेमिलियर विद द एक्स एक्सिस एंड द वाई एक्सिस, ओके, x axis and the y axis, okay. So whenever we have a x axis like that, this is x axis, and generally you define the y axis in this direction, okay. This is x axis and the y axis, okay. Whenever the data or the things are put in x axis, okay, then we can say that the this is the row, okay. And whenever these rows you can visualize, you can see in the vertical direction, this is the vertical direction from the y axis, okay. Then you can look at the different numbers or the things, okay, that will make the columns, okay. ओके, सो whenever you arrange the let us suppose कि आपने x axis में, तो x axis को बोल देंगे हम horizontal lines, okay. So for example these are the horizontal lines, okay, this is known as the x axis, okay. And whenever you look at from the vertical directions, okay, vertical direction from the y axis, okay, then you can see that these are the columns for the given arrangement, okay. So matrices define the total number of rows and the total number of the columns, okay. So matrix, how could we define the matrix? Is the arrangement of the numbers or array of the numbers in the form of row and the columns, and denoted by the capital letter, and generally belongs to the matrix defined as aij. Is that clear? So generally matrix order is defined and the number of rows and the number of the columns, okay. So in this case, if this is the matrix, okay, अगर ये मैट्रिक्स आपका a m into n है, तो how could you understand this is the row and the column, okay. तो इसमें आप कैसे अंडरस्टैंड करेंगे this is the row and the column, okay. This is the first row, okay, because all these elements are arranged in the horizontal direction, okay. So this is the horizontal direction, always remember this is the horizontal direction and this is the vertical directions, okay. Generally हम इसमें जो use करते हैं that is the horizontal and the vertical directions. Is that okay? So in horizontal direction, whenever a11, a12, aij and ain, okay, these are the numbers, okay. So this generate the first row, and this generate the second row, and this generate the mth row, okay. So these are the number of rows, okay. So whenever this is visualized from the in this directions, okay, then this is known as the column 1, this is column 2, okay, this is we can say that column 2, and this is column 3, and generally we can say that there are the column n. So that's why we write here number of rows into number of columns, okay. So whenever we define the number of rows and the number of columns, that is the matrix order, okay, that is the matrix order, okay. So this is the arrangement of the matrices. So you can put the data in the form of the row and the column. Is that okay? So m and n might be the number of rows and the columns are equal or not be equal, okay. So this is the representation of the matrices, okay. And the second point is that here in the definition we represent the point aij, okay. Try to understand. अब जब भी एलिमेंट्स आपके मैट्रिसेस में रहेंगे, जनरली वी कैन राइट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ आई एंड जे, ओके. सो व्हाट इज आई हियर? आई इज द रो इन विच द गिवन एलिमेंट बिलोंग, ओके. जिस रो से गिवन एलिमेंट आपका बिलोंग करेगा, ओके, दैट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय आई. सो हियर इज द आई एंड जे इज द कॉलम, okay. The given element belongs to the particular column, okay, or particular row that is defined by I and the j. Okay, let us take example. If you look at a11, okay, so why should we write here a11? Okay, a11, so what does it mean? Okay, it belongs to the first row and the first column. You can understand this is the first row and this is the first column. Similarly, if we write a12, okay, what does it mean? It belongs to the first row and the second column. So what is the value of I here? I, we can say that 1, okay, and j, it can be written as the 2. Is that clear? Similarly, if we talk about the a21, okay, this is a very simple way to understand. What is the value of I here is 2 and j is 1. Is that clear? I is 2 and the j is 1. So what does it mean? It belongs to the second row and the first column. Okay, this is the representation of the matrix element, okay, from the row and the column. Okay, so you can remember 2 points. Matrix are the arrangement of the numbers in the form of the row and the column, okay, and the elements of the second point is elements of the given matrix are represented as aij, so where I is the row and j is the column. And third point, you remember, matrix order is defined as number of rows and the number of columns. Okay, what are the number of rows? जो आपकी horizontal lines रहेगी उनको हम बोलेंगे rows, number of rows, okay, and the number of columns, okay, जो vertical directions में जब आप एलिमेंट्स का अरेंजमेंट को विजुलाइज करेंगे, जब आप देखेंगे तब आप देखेंगे कि दीज आर द रोज. सो हियर वी हैव द हाउ मेनी रोज, कॉलम्स आर n and rows are m. Is that clear? Definition, this is the definition of the matrix. Okay, in the next slide we will also discuss the examples also. Okay, this is the general representation of the definition of the matrix. Okay, so do you able to understand or not? आप लोगों को समझ में आया है कि नहीं? डू यू अंडरस्टैंड और नॉट? Okay, 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 is that clear to everyone, the representation of the matrices? Okay, okay, now, okay, we will also discuss your doubts in the last 5 minutes. Okay, so you have to be note down and you must have a notebook with you. तो जिस भी स्लाइड्स में आपको कोई टॉपिक या किसी टर्म्स में यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, ओके, देन वी विल डिस्कस इन द लास्ट 5 minutes. Is that clear? So in the last, at the end of the lecture, okay, at the in the last, in the 5 minutes we will take your doubts also. Okay, so in every slides just note down your queries. Okay, and then we will discuss. Okay, अगर आपको इंग्लिश में समझ नहीं आएगा then I will explain in the Hindi also. Okay, so this is the definition of the matrix. Okay, now next is the types of the matrix. Okay, so in case of type of the matrix we have the different type of the matrices. Okay, for example, this is the row matrices. Okay, and the first matrix is the row matrices. How could you define the row matrix? In row matrix you have to be defined that there are the single row and the number of columns are might be more than one. Okay, always remember row matrix may always you have the first row, single row, you have the single row. Okay, so for example here this is the general representation here, and we can define here 1 1 and 6, and this is 1 into 3. Okay, so this is the first column, this is the second column, and this is the third column. Is that clear? And this is only the first row. So whenever we have the first row and the number of columns are there, this is known as the row matrix. Okay, and this is the next example. Here we have the first row 0 3 5 and the 2, and there are how many columns are there? Column 1, column 2, okay, and column 3 and the column 4. Okay, all these elements, this element belongs to the column 1, this is 2, and this is 3, and this is 4. So that's why we can write the order is a 1 into 4. This is known as a row matrix. So remember that in row matrix only you have a single row and multiple columns. Okay, and next is the column matrix. Okay, remember from the statement column matrix. So column matrix may column matrix always have a single column and number of rows, single column and the number of rows. The type of the matrix is very important for you, because whenever we discuss the multiplication of the matrix, okay, then that these type of the matrix are very important. Okay, so first of all you understand that what kind of the matrix we have, किस type की matrix आप multiplication और addition में use कर रहे हैं. Okay, so this is the column matrix. Column matrix, remember, this is the only one column and the multiple columns, rows. Okay, so for example, this is the how many rows are there. This is first row, this is the second row, this is the third row, and this is the fourth row. Okay, ओके, तो यू हैव टू बी रिमेंबर, यू हैव टू बी लुक एट कि आपने फर्स्ट एलिमेंट को हमने यहाँ पे प्लेस किया है फर्स्ट रो में, सेकंड को सेकंड रो में, एंड सो ऑन, 1 2 3 4. सो इस डायरेक्शन में जब आप देखेंगे इट जनरेट द रोज. सो देयर आर द 4 rows and only we have the one column. We have only the one column. Okay, so the order of this is the 4 into 1. Okay, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इन मैट्रिसेस हम रो लिखते हैं एंड देन द नंबर ऑफ कॉलम्स 4 into 1. Okay, and here is also the another examples that there are how many rows are there, 1, this is 2, and this is 0, this is 5, and this is the 6. Okay, and 5 into 1. So in column matrix always you have a single column and number of rows are there. Okay, this is the second type of the matrix, and that is known as the column matrix. Okay, and the third one is the rectangular matrix. Okay, rectangular matrix, in a rectangular matrix contains more than one element and number of rows is not equal to the number of columns. Okay, जो आपके रो रहेंगे वो कॉलम के इक्वल नहीं होंगे, that is known as the rectangular matrix. Okay, so you can understand कि रेक्टेंगुलर मैट्रिक्स आपका कैसे रहेगा, रेक्टेंगल की शेप में रहेगा. ओके, जैसे रेक्टेंगल शेप में अपोजिट साइड्स आपकी इक्वल रहती है. ओके, तो जो शेप आपका डाटा का या एलिमेंट्स का बनेगा इन दिस मैट्रिक्स, ओके, दैट इज like the rectangular matrix. Okay, rectangle. Okay, so these are the examples, contains more than one elements and number of rows is not equal to the number of columns. Okay, for example, there are how many rows are there, 1 2 3, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. These are the 4, and how many columns are there, 1 and 2. So this is known as the 4 into 2 rectangular matrix. Okay, m is not equal to n, row is not equal to columns. Okay, and this in this case we have the two rows, 1 1 0 and 2 0 3 3 0. So the number of rows are 2. Okay, and how many columns are there, this is 1 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Okay, so try to understand. Okay, what are the columns, column जो vertical lines. Okay, जो vertical direction में आपके elements रहेंगे, okay, it defines the columns. ओके, और जो आपके एलिमेंट्स हॉरिजॉन्टल लाइंस में रहेंगे ये आपकी रोज रहेगी. ओके, सो डोंट टू बी कंफ्यूज हियर. ओके, दिस इज रो, सो रो ओनली वी हैव 2 and columns are 5. So this is 2 into 5, this is known as the rectangular matrix. Okay, and next matrix is square matrix. So square matrix is like the square. Okay, so all the sides are equal. So whenever the shape is created by the square matrix, okay, then for that the order of the matrix, in case order, a row is equal to the columns. Okay, row is equal to the column, number of rows is equal to the number of the columns here. Okay, this is known as the square matrix. Okay, so what is the difference between the square matrix and the non-square matrix? In square matrix, you understand from the row. Okay, and order of the matrices, or the order of the matrix in the square matrix, the row is equal to the column, and in rectangular matrix the row is not equal to the column. Okay, so this is the logic to understand the square matrix and the non-square matrix. Okay, and you can also understand from the shape. रेक्टेंगुलर शेप में आपकी अपोजिट साइड्स इक्वल रहती है, और स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स में आपका जो साइड्स है दैट ऑल आर इक्वल. तो जब भी आपके पास रो इज इक्वल टू कॉलम रहेगा, वो आपका शेप जो है स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स का जनरेट करेगा. इज इट क्लियर? सो दिस इज द स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स. सो did you understand up to this slide or not? Did you understand? यहाँ तक आप लोगों को समझ में आ गया the type of the matrices, order, the row and the columns? Is that clear to everyone? Okay, this is only for those students which doesn't have a mathematics background. Okay, Okay, so in the next, that is the diagonal matrix. Okay, diagonal matrix, a square matrix where all the elements are zero except those on the main diagonals. Okay, so first of all you have to be understand what are the diagonal elements. Diagonal elements always generate in the square matrix. Okay, that is the important point here, कि जितने भी आपके square matrix हैं, diagonal elements will be there. Is that clear? So diagonal elements are 1, 2 and the 1 here, and here is the diagonal elements 3, 3, 5 and the 9. These are the diagonal elements. Okay, in diagonal elements, whenever you represent the diagonal elements, the position of these elements always is equal to the row to the column. Okay, let us suppose what is the position of 1. It belongs to the first row and the first column. Okay, you can look at, ये आपका फर्स्ट रो को बिलोंग कर रहा है एंड द फर्स्ट कॉलम को. इज दैट क्लियर? और ये जो आपका 2 है, इट बिलोंग्स टू द सेकंड रो एंड द कॉलम इज आल्सो सेकंड. ओके, okay, and here is the 1. Is that clear? It belongs to the third row and the third column. Okay, so we can understand the diagonal elements are those whenever we have I is equal to j. Okay, and in the second slide I define what is I is the row and j is the column. You can understand. So that is 1, 2 and 1 are the diagonal elements. So in the square matrix always you have the diagonal elements. Okay, and in non-square elements we don't have a diagonals like that. Is that clear? तो डायगोनल एलिमेंट्स हम सिर्फ स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स में डिफाइन करते हैं टू अंडरस्टैंड द प्रॉपर रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ डायगोनल मैट्रिक्स. ओके, so in square matrix all the elements are zero except those on the main diagonals. Okay, so these are the elements above the diagonal, these are the elements above the diagonal, and these are the elements below the diagonal. Okay, these are the diagonal elements we have, these are the diagonal elements here, and these are the above diagonal elements and the lower diagonal elements. This is not the diagonal matrix. Only we have the diagonal elements are non-zero and non-diagonal elements are 0. Okay, so non-diagonal elements are, these are the non-diagonal elements जो आपके diagonal पे नहीं है. Okay, they are not the non-diagonal elements. Okay, so all the elements, okay, which are not lie, okay, on this line. Okay, you can understand. Okay, this is known as a diagonal elements. Is that clear? So in case of a diagonal matrix, only the diagonal elements are non-zero and non-diagonal elements are 0. All the below and above the diagonal elements. Okay, this is the diagonal matrix. Okay, and next is the unit or identity matrix. This is also the very important matrix. Okay, you can understand. यूनिट मैट्रिक्स का हम जो यूज मैट्रिक्स में करते हैं, ओके, दैट इज द सेम एज यू यूज वन इन एनी मल्टीप्लिकेशंस. तो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आप 2 को लिखते हैं, ओके, 2 को आप ऐसे भी लिख सकते हैं यहाँ पे 1 into 2. ओके, यू कैन राइट 1 into 2 एंड सिमिलरली यू कैन राइट, लेट अस सपोज आपने x लिखा, x कैन बी रिटन एज 1 into x. Is that clear? 1 into x. Is that clear? So every time, let us suppose you write 10. अगर आपने 10 लिखा तो 10 को आप ऐसे लिख सकते हैं. ओके, इन मैथमेटिक्स में you can also write 10 because 1 is multiplied in every number. So you can write here 1 into multiplied by the 10. Is that okay? So a unit matrix is important. Why? Because whenever we go for the addition and subtraction or multiplication of the any numbers, जब भी हम मैट्रिक्स में किसी एडिशन और सब्ट्रैक्शन और मल्टीप्लिकेशन किसी रियल नंबर का करेंगे तो वो डायरेक्ट नॉट पॉसिबल. Direct addition of the number is not possible. Okay, then we use the unit matrix. So unit matrix और इसको हम बोलते हैं identity matrix. Okay, so that is in case of matrices. जब भी आप किसी नंबर को किसी वेरिएबल्स को ऐड ऑन करेंगे किसी अदर मैट्रिक्स में, okay, या पर्टिकुलर मैट्रिक्स में, okay, then we use the unit matrix. Okay, so unit matrix always have the square matrix. Okay, so unit matrix, unit or identity matrix, here is I. Generally we represent I. Okay, if you're not able to understand from the statement, okay, just leave it. Okay, just try to understand from the examples. Is that clear? In example, first point you have to be remember that the matrix should be square. Okay, अगर आप 3 into 2 की बात करें, okay, this is a non-square matrix. Okay, so non-square matrix is not the unit matrix. Okay, and second point is that diagonal elements should be equal to 1. Okay, this is the unit matrix. Okay, so in this case, this is the 1 1 and the 1, and all the non-diagonal elements are 0. So remember, this is kind of a diagonal matrix. Okay, पर diagonal matrix में जो diagonal elements हैं वो आपके 1 नहीं होंगे, that will be different. वो positive भी हो सकते हैं, negative भी हो सकते हैं. Is that clear? But in this case, all the elements are equal to 1, not equal to 2, not equal to -2, not equal to 0. Okay, that should be equal to 1. So always remember, unit matrix is defined for the square matrix. Okay, and all the diagonal elements are equal to 1. Is that clear? We use the concept of the unit matrix in the multiplications. Okay, so always remember. Okay, and next is the scalar matrix. In case of scalar matrix, diagonal matrix whose main diagonal elements are equal to the same scalar. Okay, and now just try to understand what are the scalar. Scalar might be any number. Is that clear? That might be 2, 3, 4, -4, -6, -7. Okay, we define in the mathematics that is a scalar. Okay, so scalar matrix defined whenever the diagonal elements is are equal and equal to the any scalars. So scalar might be 2, -2, -5, -6, or whatsoever. Okay, but that is not equal to 1. Okay, that is not equal to 1, otherwise it becomes the unit matrix. Okay, so scalar matrix may always the you have to be remember 3 points. One is the matrix should be square. Okay, and the elements should be equal to any scalar. Any scalar that might be k 2, 6, 4, -4, whatsoever. Okay, and third point is they are equal. They are equal. Okay, so the for example, this is a 4 into 4 matrix. Okay, and the diagonal elements are equal to 6 and equal. All the elements are equal, so this is known as the scalar matrix. Okay, and in this case, this is the 2 into 2. Okay, this is the unit matrix here. Okay, so scalar matrix can be defined as whenever k is equal to 1, this becomes the unit matrix. Okay, and whenever k is not equal to 1, then we can define this the scalar, that is the scalar matrix. This is equal to the any scalar matrix. So you can understand that this is the scalar matrix. The special case of the scalar matrix is also the unit matrix. Okay, is also unit matrix. Okay, but the difference between the unit matrix, scalar matrix, and the diagonal matrix. Okay, all these three matrices are square. Okay, in a diagonal matrix all the elements are not equal, and in unit matrix all the elements are equal and equal to 1. Okay, and in the scalar matrix the all the elements may be equal to any scalars. Okay, so that is the difference between the scalar matrix, unit matrix, as well as the diagonal matrix. Okay, you can understand. Is that clear to everyone? Is that understood to everyone or not? Is that okay? Okay, okay, okay. Understood to all of you? Okay. So next is the null matrix. So null matrix is the elements in the matrix where all the elements are 0. Okay, null matrix may be square matrix and the square matrix. Is that clear? So that is known as the null matrix. So for example, this is the column matrix here. Okay, this is 3 into 1. Okay, and this is the square matrix 3 into 3. Is that clear? This is 3 into 3 and this is the 3 into 1. So this is known as the null matrix. Okay, and the second is the triangular matrix. The square matrix whose elements above or below the main diagonal are all 0. Okay, triangular matrix, triangular matrix, how will you define? In case of triangular matrix, either the elements above the diagonal elements or below the diagonal elements, okay, that are 0. Okay, for example, in this case the elements above the diagonals are 0, so we can also say that this is the triangular matrix also. Okay, and this is also the triangular matrix because all the elements above the diagonal elements are 0. Okay, diagonal elements के या तो आपके upper element या lower elements, okay, that should be 0. Okay, for example, this is also the triangular matrix. Okay, so triangular matrix में, okay, that the elements above or below the diagonal, above or below the diagonal elements are 0. Not all the above or below the elements are 0. but either above or below. Okay, try to understand. Okay, so this is known as the triangular matrix, and further triangular matrix is defined in the two ways. Okay, जिसको आप डिफाइन करेंगे ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स को, अपर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स एंड द लोअर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स. ओके, तो ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज द अपर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स एंड द लोअर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स. अपर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स वेयर द elements below the diagonal elements are zero. This is known as the upper triangular matrix. Okay, so you can remember कि upper triangular matrix में आपके जो element above the diagonal elements हैं वो non zero होंगे. Okay, and the elements below the diagonal elements, that is zero. Okay, this is the upper triangular matrix. Okay, so you can also remember from this logic कि below diagonal elements आपके zero हैं upper triangular matrix में, and second logic is that in upper triangular matrix the elements above the diagonal elements are zero. You can understand in this way. Is it clear? This is known as the upper triangular matrix. Okay, and second important point is that in upper triangular matrix is the square matrix. Is the square matrix. Is the square matrix. Okay, so remember कहाँ पे आपका नॉन स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स रहेगा और कहाँ पे स्क्वायर मैट्रिक्स में डिफाइन होगी आपकी मैट्रिसेस. यू हैव टू बी अंडरस्टैंड. ओके, सो डोंट टू बी कंफ्यूज, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द लॉजिक्स. ओके, एंड कीप द रफ नोटबुक विद यू. आप लोगों के पास एक नोटबुक होना चाहिए जब भी आप लेक्चर्स में है. ओके, एंड जस्ट नोट डाउन द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स एंड योर डाउट्स. इज दैट क्लियर? So you can also contact me on the phone also, and post your queries on the WhatsApp number also. Okay, if we don't have a time in lectures. Okay, but just put your efforts. Okay, that's very important for you. Is that clear? And if you are if regular and regular, you have to be go for the practice of the mathematics problems. Okay, then definitely you will pass the this course in a good marks. Okay, that is I guaranteed for that. Okay, कि आपका पेपर बहुत अच्छे से निकलेगा अगर आप सिंसियर रहेंगे क्लासेस में और थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस करेंगे इस चीज को लेके. इज ए क्लियर? बट इफ यू आर just to time pass in the lectures, okay, then I will not give the guarantee to pass the course. Okay, because this is the your sole responsibility. Okay, to discuss the problems. Okay, if you're not able to understand anything, okay, then let me know. Then we will discuss your queries and your doubts. ओके तो आप लोगों का थोड़ा सा रेगुलर और थोड़ा सा प्रैक्टिस हुआ मैथमेटिक्स में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहेगा. इज दैट क्लियर? सो दिस इज द अपर ट्रायंगुलर मैट्रिक्स हियर. Okay, and the next is the lower triangular matrix. In lower triangular matrix, square matrix whose elements above the main diagonals are all zero. Square matrix whose elements above the diagonal elements are all zero. So you can look at the examples. Okay, okay, just look at all the elements above the diagonal elements are zero. These are zero. Okay, and the elements below the diagonal elements are non-zero. Okay, this is known as the lower triangular matrix. Okay, if you are not and from the definition you can also understand a square matrix whose elements above the main diagonal are all zero. This that aij is equal to 0 for all j is greater than I. J is here is the column and I is the row. Okay, but I in there might be some confusion to understand I and the j. Okay, so directly understand from the example. Okay, lower triangular matrix में जो elements below the diagonal elements हैं that should be non-zero. Okay, and the matrix should be square matrix. That is the square matrix. Okay, that is the lower triangular matrix. Okay, so in triangular matrix, okay, either the elements above the diagonal elements or below the diagonal elements are zero. But whenever we define the upper triangular matrix, in upper triangular matrix all the elements above the diagonal elements are zero. Okay, and in lower triangular matrix, okay, all the elements below the diagonal elements are non-zero. That is the lower triangular matrix. Okay, or the elements above the diagonal elements are zero. That is the lower triangular matrix. Okay, so this is very simple to understand. Okay, and next is the equality of the matrices. Okay, In what case we can say that the two matrices are equal. Okay, so in that case two matrices are said to be equal only when all the corresponding elements are equal and order of the matrices is same. Okay, आपके elements भी same है और order भी same है, then we can say that that is the equality of the matrices. Okay, this is known as the equality of the matrices. Okay, the each element would be same. Okay, and order is also same. Is that clear? So that is 1 is equal to 1 here. Okay, and this is 0 and this is 0, this is 0 and this is 0. Similarly this is 2 1 0 2 1 0 here, and 5 2 3, this is 5 2 3. So they are equal. These are the corresponding element. Okay, try to here what is the corresponding element? हम corresponding element किसको बोलेंगे? जिस जो आपका same position पे elements रहेंगे. For example this is 1, so 1 is here. Okay, first row and the first column. Okay, and this is the element belongs to the second row and the first column, so you can write here the second row and the first column. Okay, for example this is 3. 3 का corresponding elements क्या रहेगा आपका? 3, because this the position of this element is the third row and the third column. Okay, and in this matrix also the position of this element is the third row and the third column. Okay, so this is the corresponding element. Okay, तो corresponding element में आपने always remember, okay, that row and the column should be same. Okay, for the particular element in the different matrices. Okay, so this is the matrix A and this is the matrix B. So elements all, if this element is 0, okay, the corresponding element is this one, so that is 0. So 0 is equal to 0. This is the definition of the equality of the matrices. Okay, so you can understand the matrix, the order should be same, that maybe square and the non-square matrix. Okay, and important point is that corresponding element should be same. This is the equality of the matrices. Okay, now next is the operations, matrix operations. Okay, so matrix operations, in this case we define, for example, addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, okay, so before that, first of all let me clear that all of you are able to understand or not. आप लोगों को types of the matrices सबको समझ में आ गया? How will we define the row, order, and how will we define the column, row, order of the matrices, and the position of the elements in the given row and the column? Is that understood to everyone or not? If someone are not able to understand, then let me know. I will again explain. Okay, is that understood too? Yeah, this is very easy. Exactly. If you understand the logic, then mathematics is very easy. Yeah, yeah, unknown users not. Okay, 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 this is the unknown users here, and I think he's not able to understand. Okay, so let me clear your doubts. अगर किसी को समझ में नहीं आया है, ठीक है, तो अपना यहाँ पे डाउट लिख दो, ठीक है ना, in the chat box. Okay, just write your queries. Is that understood to all? Okay, just write in the chat box. Okay, that in which slide you are not able to understand matrices, order, and the representations of the elements. इसमें से या types of the matrices. Okay, let me clear. Okay, recently joined. Okay, okay, if you recently joined, then okay, then just try to understand these topics from the slides. Okay, the recorded video also available on the on your portal also. Okay, very soon, within a 1 or 2 days. Okay, the recorded video will be available there. Okay, so you can understand, and if you're not able to understand, then in the next lecture we will discuss your queries. Is that okay? Is that clear to everyone? Okay. So there are so many types of the matrices. Okay, but in your course only, we will discuss the all these types of the matrices. Okay, and whenever the different types of the matrices we will use in the multiplications or determinant. Okay, then we will discuss and explain there. Okay, so after the next is the these are the types of the matrices, and next topic is the operations on the matrices. Okay, so operation on the matrices are addition, subtractions, and the multiplications. Okay, so we will start from the addition and the subtractions. Okay, then we will continue with the next operations. So how will you define the addition and subtraction of the matrices? Okay, whenever you have a different matrices, जब आपके पास एक से ज्यादा matrices आपके पास रहेगी, then how could you go for the addition? Because addition, we can't go for like that. You go for the addition of the numbers. For example, if you go for the addition of two numbers, 5 plus 3, that is directly 8. Okay, but whenever you have the different matrices, okay, we have to be check the different orders. Okay, and then we will go for the addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, directly we can't. Okay, so let us take a example for the addition and subtraction. Okay, sum of the difference of the two matrices A and B of the same size give the matrices C of the same size. Okay, so first of all, the important point in the addition and subtraction of the matrices is that, okay, the order should be same. Okay, you remember the point that in the addition and subtraction of the matrices, okay, order of the different matrices should be same. Is that clear? Try to understand. Okay, so for example, if we have these are the matrices here, 2 into 3, 2 into 3, 2 into 3. Okay, so try to understand. Here the number of rows and the columns are equal in every row, in every matrices. Okay, in every matrix, then you are able to add and subtract of the matrices. Okay, so this is the addition and subtraction of the matrices. In the first rule is that all the matrices should have the same orders. Okay, so in this case, if this is the matrices 7 3 minus 1 and 2 minus 5 6. Okay, and this is the second matrix. Okay, and this is the resulting matrix. Okay, so these are the two matrices you have to be add. Okay, now the second point is that how could we go for the addition? तो addition आप कैसे करते हैं? Corresponding elements को. Okay, in the previous slides, I explained the corresponding elements. What are the corresponding elements? जो आपके different matrices में same positions पे आपके elements हैं, वहाँ that is known as the corresponding elements. So important point in the addition and subtraction of the matrix is that corresponding elements you have to be either add और subtract. Okay, तो जो भी आपने addition और subtraction करना है, that is according to the corresponding elements. Okay, so for example, 7 and 1. Okay, what is the corresponding element of 7? That is 1. Okay, and what is the corresponding element of 3? That is 5. And what is the corresponding element of minus 1? That is 6. Is that clear? Similarly, the corresponding element of 2 is equal to minus 5, and the corresponding element of 5 is minus 2. Corresponding element of 6 is 3. Okay, so you have to be go for the addition 7 to 1 and you will get 8. Okay, and you can't go the addition of the 7 to 5 because here is the plus. Okay, so all the elements of the matrices, this matrix B, okay, that is add on to the corresponding element of the matrices A. अगर आप इसको A में A matrix consider करते हैं, okay, and let us suppose this is A and let us suppose this is the matrix B here. Okay, then corresponding elements you have to be add. So similarly 3 should be add to the 5 and minus 1 should be add to 6. Okay, so that is 7 to 1 8, 3 to 5 8, and minus 1 to 6 is 5. Minus 1 plus 6 is 5. Is that clear? And for the second row is add on to the second row of the second matrix or the matrix B. Is that clear? So the corresponding element of 2, that is minus 4. You can say see that 2 minus 4 is minus 2 here. Okay, and similarly minus 5 to minus 7 here, minus 5 minus 7, minus 2, sorry, minus 5 to minus 2, that is minus 7 here. Okay, and 6 to 3, 6 and 3. So what is the corresponding element of 6? That is 3. We can say that the 9. So that is the very simple way to add and subtract the matrices. Okay, but the condition is that, okay, the matrices should be same orders. Okay, and the corresponding elements you have to be add or the subtract. Okay, that is the first operations on the different matrices for the addition and the subtraction. Okay, so note down, there are the two important points. The order of the matrices should be same. Okay, and the corresponding elements you have to be add on. Okay, that is the addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, so whenever now you can take the matrices more than one also. Okay, but condition is that the order should be same. Order should be same. This is the addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, and the third important point, you also remember that the whether the matrices are square and the non-square. अगर आपके पास मैट्रिक्स स्क्वायर है या नॉन स्क्वायर है, ओके, देयर शुड बी नो प्रॉब्लम फॉर द एडिशन एंड सब्ट्रैक्शन इफ द ऑर्डर इज सेम. अगर उनका ऑर्डर सेम है तो मैट्रिक्स आपकी स्क्वायर भी हो सकती है और नॉन स्क्वायर भी हो सकती है. Is that clear? That is the important point in the addition and subtraction of the matrices. Okay, and let us take examples. You can go for these practice problems. Okay, what is the difference between the unit matrix, diagonal matrix, scalar matrix? This is the practice problems for you. That is, evaluate a plus b and the a minus b. Okay, and here is the compute r plus s and the r minus s here. Okay, so first of all you have to remember the or check the number of rows and the columns. Okay, so in this case we have the number of rows are 3 and columns are also 3, so order of this it becomes 3. Okay, this is 3 by 3. We can write here this is 3 by 3, and this is also the order is 3 by 3. Okay, try to understand, this is also the order is 3 by 3. Okay, and the order of this is also, what is the order of this matrices is, this is 1 2 3. Okay, we can say that this is 3 into 2. Okay, this is 3 into 2, and this is also into 3 into 2. Is that clear? So first of all look at the orders. Okay, order agar same nahi hai, okay, the addition and subtraction are not possible. Okay, and then go for the addition and subtraction of the corresponding elements. Okay, so one corresponding element is minus 5, minus 2 to 0, and 3 to minus 2. Okay, and 0 to 3, and 5 to 2, and minus 7 to minus 1, like that. Okay, and 2 to 2, and minus 4 to minus 4, and 3 to minus 7. Similarly, the corresponding element of 2 is 3. Okay, and this is 2 is minus 2. Okay, minus 3, the corresponding element is 4. Minus 5 is add and subtract to the minus 5. Minus 5 to 6, and this is 8 to minus 2. Is that clear? So this is all about the addition, subtraction, and the type of the matrices. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Okay, is that clear to everyone? That's all for today. Okay, so for the next lectures, okay, be prepared for the multiplications. Okay, and till then just recapitulate and try to understand the type of the matrix, addition, subtractions, and go for the practice problems. Okay, so thank you and good night to all of you.